Two. Hello and welcome everyone to Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner, mental fitness coach, international motivational speaker, and passionate believer that transformation is always possible, no matter your age or your story. This podcast is a space for those of you, especially over 40, who feel stuck, off track, or disconnected from whom you truly are. If you've ever thought there has to be more to life than this, you're in the right place. Here, we are going to explore how to break through fear, procrastination, self-doubt, and reconnect with your purpose, your power, and your truth. You'll hear inspiring conversations with heart-centered guests who have experienced real transformations and who now live with intention, freedom, and alignment. It's really about radical reconnection with your authentic self. It's about designing a life that doesn't just look good from the outside, but feels right in the inside. Every episode is an invitation to show up more fully, expansively, to take bold, soul-aligned actions towards the life you really desire. So thank you for being there. Let's take a big, deep breath, open our hearts, and step forward, because your life is not set in stone. You can redesign it starting right now. And today I've got the immense pleasure to have very special and dear guests. It's Jennie and Steve Eriksen. And just a small introduction so Steve and Jennie are the husband and wife team behind Event Raptor. It's a virtual event management platform built to make it easier for coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs to run professional, impactful events without getting lost in tech overwhelm. Steve is a tech geek and automation enthusiast. He spent years as a chief technology officer for an 8-figure coaching organizations, managing large-scale virtual events with thousands of attendees. But when he hosted his own summit, he quickly discovered that the systems available just didn't meet the needs of modern event hosts. So he decided to build his own. Jen brings her passion for clarity, connections, and community to the platform. She supports speakers in finding the right opportunities and helps even hosts discover aligned and engaged speakers for the platforms, making introductions that lead to real results. Together, Steve and Jen created Even Raptor to solve real problems and support a growing community of people who are here to make an impact. The mission is simple: help run events smoothly, grow your visibility and business, and connect with the right people worldwide without stress. And the last point, which is new, Steve and Jen now will be digital nomads from September. Two people in the so-called third chapter of their lives, traveling and running a business time. They will be creating wonderful YouTube videos about their experiences. So a very warm welcome to you, Jennie and Stephen.
Thank you so much for having us. It's lovely to be here.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. And you see, one thing I'm just going to say to the audience is that if I'm here today hosting a podcast, it's very much thanks to you both, because I had the opportunity, a few months ago to join Speakers Connections, and this is where I met beautiful people, and it inspired me first as a guest. And I was a guest in different podcasts, including, for instance, Podapalooza with Kimberly Crow and Michelle, which has been absolutely fantastic. And then I thought, what about having my own platform as well, so that I can have people, so thank you so much. Just wanted to express my gratitude to both of you.
Well, you're very welcome, and we're excited to listen, because very much, when we have our Speaker Connections event and you come along, and we have, as you know, what we call after hours, where we just get to chat with people. Some of the loveliest ways we've rounded up after hours is a final thought from you. I don't know how it hasn't intentionally been that way, but invariably you've said something that's so profound. Steve and I kind of like, doesn't get any better than that. So we're very much aligned with being heart-centered people. So love that.
Well, thank you so much, Jenny. And now the floor is yours. I mean, I would like, our audience to know about your story. I mean, obviously, because it's so fascinating. You are a couple in life, but as well in business. So tell us a view about this story, how it went, and the various stages you've had in terms of transformations in your lives.
Sure. Oh my gosh, where to start? Well, I mean, we are the quintessential couple that met on the Monday, moved in on the Friday, and then got married after 5 months. Much to people's shock. That was 32 years ago. We're coming up to 33 years of being together, and I think for the two of us, we're both a pair of introverts. One of us is noisier than the other, as you can already see. But I think we very much are very much aligned. We complement one another, and we've had a journey of not only working together, but the trials and tribulations of life. We have two incredible children, but we've had challenges along the way. We've had health challenges and such. And I think that the fact that we are very grateful people. We're grateful for the smallest of things, things that often go over people's head. We're very grateful for each other and the things that we do and the small gestures. And I think that that's been continuous throughout our life together. So whether that's in a work capacity or a business capacity, it kind of, I don't know, Steve, I mean, over to you, but the two kind of blur into each other, don't they?
Oh, they really do. So Jenny is absolutely my soulmate, and I knew that after just a few days of having met Jenny those 33 years ago. I think personally it's a blessing that we are able to work together and spend our life together. And I was just saying to Jen yesterday, I think it was like it's actually several weeks since we've been apart. And I mean, like outside, one of us has been outside of the house and the other one wasn't with them, kind of thing. And we really treasure that, and we always say we don't have enough time together. Even now, working together, living together, everything, we don't have enough time together because we just enjoy each other's company so much, and we fulfill each other in that. And that's why you mentioned that we're going to do a journey now. We're going to become digital nomads. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's like that experience together of traveling and working and doing it together is just a dream come true. And when I say dream come true, we were actually going to do it in 2020 because our daughter had gone to Melbourne in Australia. Our son was in the US back then. Sorry, he was in the Middle East back then. Working, and everything was looking good, and we were going to buy tickets on the 1st of April for starting our journey in the summer of 2020. 15th of March, everything shut down. So that was a dream not fulfilled. Our son came back for a while, our daughter came back for a while. Now they all settled in their respective places, and now is the opportunity, as you say, the third chapter of our life, and we just are going to embrace that and go for it and create that lifestyle for at least for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. You see, you've been married 33 years, and we can see the passion and of course it shows every time we all meet, together, and that the difference is you lead, I mean, this life and this business from your heart.
Yeah, very, very, very much. We wanted to create a business that was in alignment with us. I think there's a real incongruency when people try to be something they're not, and people say, oh, when you meet on Zoom or you meet on camera or whatever, it's not the same. You can see through people's micro expressions when they're saying one thing, but their body is saying another. And, for Steve and I, we come from a gentler place, and that's not for everybody. And that's okay. If you want table thumping, somebody talking big vanity metrics and being very loud and expansive, we're not your people. That's okay. And we're very happy to point you in the direction of people that are like that. But we wanted to create a community that of people where they felt a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose and not feel silly. Often people hear that they need a particular thing. I've heard I need a lead magnet and I don't know what that is. And we're not here to make people feel foolish. We're here to hold people's hands and go, this is what it is. This is why you need it. This is how it will help you. So we very much come from a nurturing place. And, we've had people over the years going, oh, you could do so much more with this. You could charge for that. Or our networking event, oh, you should charge for it. But we don't want to, because the idea that we play a small part in, it's even now just giving myself goosebumps saying it, that we play a small part in bringing people together for a couple of hours twice a month from all different parts of the world, who meet and then they come back again and they say, oh gosh, I really enjoyed it, or I met somebody, or I hadn't thought of something. And often one of the funny things we see, it's with sort of 70 to anything up to 100 people that come along. We have 3 breakthrough rooms, and it would be lovely if Steve had the time to go. I think Daniel should go with Susan, and I think there isn't the time to do that. So the Zoom gods kind of do their thing, and often we look afterwards and think, oh my gosh, there's 6 people together that come from not only different places but different walks of life. And then we have what we call shares after each of these rooms, and people go, oh my gosh, I just met 5 wonderful people, and after this we're going to go and have a virtual cup of tea, and I've got an idea. And it's just like, that's just lovely, because what people are just having is a conversation. And because we don't come from this formal vanity metrics kind of table thumping thing, I think people feel that they can simply be, and that's how the magic happens. So when people say thank you, it's kind of like, well, we ran the event, but the magic happened because you just all started conversing with each other.
Absolutely. And Stephen, from your part?
Well, from my part, so what I do a lot of work with is helping people, build their business, expand their business, getting more clients, and I really enjoy working with solopreneurs. So you mentioned that I was working with a big life coaching company before we started this business. And, we grew to be 100 people in that company. I was the chief technology officer, so I was responsible for all of the technology behind the scenes when we had big events. We did webinars with up to 5,000 people. We did virtual events with 2,200 people in Zoom and things like that. And I got to a point where I was like losing touch with individuals. I was just working in the US, it's still classified as a small company, being 100 people. But for me, that's a really big company in terms of, the number of people I have to interact with, the hierarchy. Even though I was at the top of the hierarchy, being a C-suite executive, it just wasn't that enjoyable after a while as we were growing. And I wanted to get back to having that direct impact, working with people directly and helping them grow their business. That's what I did before in smaller companies, and I really, really enjoyed that. And that's why we got into, initially we got into coaching. I wanted to coach and help people really attract clients, but not the law of attraction, which says, hey, you sit back and you're going like, it's going to happen to me. But really, like, what are the psychology of attracting clients into your business and building your know, like, and trust and authority. And that's what I started with. And we then quickly realized we were doing 2 virtual summits ourselves to grow our business. And that worked really, really well. And we came to a point where we realized that people couldn't do it on their own. They couldn't create their own virtual summits. I wanted to go to every single group coaching client, everybody in my sphere of influence, and saying, you need to run virtual summits, but they couldn't do it. And that's why we created the Event Raptor platform. was literally to help the people in our ecosystem, in on our mailing list, on any kind of people we could reach, to bring them onto to a stage where they're not just participating on the stage, but actually they own the stage. They are the people who are responsible for the stage, and therefore get all of the benefits that gives them in growing their business. So that's my passion, really, what I want to do. So Jennie and I really fulfill each other, because Jennie is 100% like the people person, the nurturer who will have fantastic conversations with people, and I'm the person who's a little bit more in the background, but then helping them execute, helping them grow their business. So I think together we make a very strong team.
Wow, I can't agree more than that. When I see this, and you see, just to come back, thank you for the sharing. And you see, I can attest from my part that every time I attended your event, it's so much joy, and you see, every people join in, or there are always new people, and they said, "Oh, wow, it's great, met so many people." You see, I could see this, and this every time there's this kind of good feel factor, and yes, I love this after events. We join and have it all a chat together, and you can see that everyone here is there. Really, it's about sharing, it's about giving, it's about loving, it's about caring. And this is inspired by both of you, because you create what I would call the sacred space, for people to be really who they are.
Exactly. And it's funny, going back to what I was saying earlier, when people say, "Oh, it's a networking event and you put in all the effort, and you should be charging." We if you like, think about charging people. People's payment to come along is to come along and talk about what it is they do, who it is they serve, what it is they're looking for. But it's also, we say to people, come along and think about how you can help everybody in the room, or somebody in the room, whether it's a comment, whether it's an introduction. You were just on somebody's amazing podcast, they're looking for more people. So your payment, if you like, is to come along and think about the people that you meet. What is it you could do, a tip or something you could give that would perhaps be of benefit, or a needle mover in their business, or whatever. And, when we get people coming with feedback and, I met this person and they told me about this, and this has changed, that just feels lovely. And that feels the way that it should be. And, as a pair of introverts, although, as I say, one is noisier than the other, we are literally, after speaker connections, we're almost zombie-like, because it's, the energy that we're putting into it. But then afterwards, once we've had our ice cream, and, those who know us know we always have an ice cream.
Absolutely.
I know some people like a glass of wine or whatever, ice cream is how we roll. It kind of sinks in what has happened and who has met who. It's kind of like, that was amazing. That person met that person, or we've had feedback from that person. And that's just, if you could pay your bills with that feeling, we would be millionaires, because those to think that we've played a small part in connecting people on their journey is just, it feels a complete honor.
Absolutely. And it transpires. And what is sure, you are millionaires in your hearts. There's no doubt about this. So actually, about this question is, okay, what does soul-aligned collaboration means to you? I mean, how is it different from traditional networking or events? Soul-aligned.
Well, I'll jump in there. I mean, Jennie will give you probably a better answer, but for me, soul aligned means that you live into an ethos. You are of a particular type, has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with ethnicity. It is all about what are you like as a person? Do you live in integrity? Do you live in caring for other people? Do what does that mean? And then you work with people who are the same. So, we meet a lot of people, and some people out there are just looking at the money and convincing you to buy their $10,000 program, whatever the personal cost to you is. One of the things that I did before I started coaching myself was I went to a sales call. I was promised that hey, if you can't figure out what you want to do in life, come into this sales call and we're going to help you like create the business with you. And we're going to give you some gifts and everything. And when I came into the call, it was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that here. We're going to do that in the $10,000 program, and you need to buy the program now. And when I said, no, I'm not ready, they literally said, if you don't buy the program, your wife is going to divorce you and your kids are going to despise you.
Oh,
So
wow.
the pressure they put on, and that for me is, we do not work with people like that. If we ever find out that people are like that, we totally like stop any business with them. We don't invite them into our group. And one of my biggest fears is we have a Facebook group with 17,000 people in it. And one of the things we're told all the time is that you should have sponsored listings. You should, charge them a fee and they can put in their own listings. But my problem is the reason we haven't done it yet is simply, what if we do that and somebody is actually fraudulent? They're coming in with huge offers, putting a lot of pressure on people, and then we endorse them because we accepted a payment for them to put their listing in. And that is something that in my mindset, soul aligned and everything, how can I do that to our audience and then hold my head up high afterwards?
Yeah,
That's what it means to me.
yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much. And I so much resonate with this. Actually, Steve, I could use the same words as you do. I mean, I'm completely on par. And Jenny, from your side?
I mean, Steve has very nicely summed it
It's
up. I mean,
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
we very much do come from a place, especially with speaker connections, where we say to people, we want to extend grace to all people. And we often get asked questions like, what's your politics, or are you religious, or whatever. I mean, we're just grateful people that want to attract like-minded people. And Steve will tell you, we've met so many people that they've gone to something like a 3-day event. They've dropped 15, 20, 25, $30,000 on a course that is still in its digital wrapping paper, because in the cold light of day, somebody has been sold something that they can't use. And that for us is heartbreaking. So, we often have people, they say, I'm financially challenged. I spent all the money on this particular thing that promised this and what have you. And, any services that people buy from us, we always want to make sure that it's something that's doable for somebody. To try and coerce somebody to break out that emergency credit card or payment or savings that is for, I don't know, their days when things go wrong or whatever. That's not in alignment with us. And it's the incongruency is it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a feel good, and so as mentioned, we have lots of people that suggest things. Oh, you could do this and that, but it's just not in alignment with the kind of people that we are. And it's quite interesting that when people meet us in real life, we've had the pleasure of going overseas and meeting people. People say, "You're really normal, aren't you?" It's yeah, we as you see us here, so we are in the grocery store, so we are, because I think when people talk a good game, in the English term, as you probably know, living in England, they're called fur coat and no knickers. You talk a good game, but the cold light of day, that doesn't resonate with us. So as you see us here, so we are, and that's why we can sleep at night, because we haven't coerced somebody into something that's not right for them. And we've created a community where we, that is our ethos, that is our values. And as Steve said, there's lots of opportunities where people have said, oh, can they advertise this or that or the other? But the idea that somebody might have thought, well, the Eriksens endorsed this and I bought this thing and it didn't work, but I saw it in their Facebook group, that would be awful. So yeah.
Well, you see, again, I so much resonate with this. You see, what the words which come to my mind is authenticity.
Mm.
I mean, this is like you are fully yourselves, and as well, it's about as well being a little vulnerable. We are the way we are, and if people resonate with us, it's good. If they don't, it's good as well. But you see, I mean, not compromising our values. This is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the lovely thing is, as parents of two grown-up children, we see that in our children as well, which is lovely. So there wasn't a big decision in terms of parenting. We've just parented as we are. But so our children, as I say, as they're now older, we see that in them as well, which is lovely.
This is fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic. And Steve, a question for you. I mean, can you just go a little bit into the kind of, programs and support you are offering to your clients? So that,
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do is the done for you services within virtual events, Summit specifically, and also in your CRM system. So a CRM system is something everybody needs, the ability to have all of your contacts, being able to send out emails to them, but also tracking on what stage of the buying journey people are, or are they already clients? So we have a very good CRM system, the Go high level system that we are an agency for. We have that under our own banner, CRM Raptor. And when you join us, we don't leave you to do it on your own. We actually nurture you through. We do things for you in the system. We provide full services where we will build out everything for you that you need in the system. So that's one aspect. But then it comes down to doing virtual summits. Now, one of the things that we realized over time is that virtual summit is taught by a number of people. They have courses and they bring people in that charge thousands of dollars to teach you, but they teach the wrong methodology. They teach you things that actually don't work, because what they're selling is that you're going to build your list, you're going to make a lot of sales. And then the way they're teaching you to do it really don't get you a lot of sales. So then we get people afterwards saying, oh, summits don't work. And we're saying, well, if you do the summits our way, it does work. We did the summit in February of 2022. It's actually when we started Speaker Connection. So we've gone for 3.5 years now. The summit we did in 2022, we did $25,000 worth of sales over a 2-week period. And then after that, the sales we just get in over time, we counted for the first 2 years how much sales we had directly from that summit. And that was over $50,000. And that's when we stopped counting. So if you do summits the right way, you can really be beneficial. Now, we don't promise anybody that they are going to get the sales, that they're going to make a success, because you can't really do that with advertising in the US, etc. But, when done the right way, it's a really nice boost to your business, to your authority, to the way you're being perceived. And that's what we do. We help people do it the right way. We have a system that automates a lot of that if you want to do it yourself. The mechanics of doing a summit. Somebody I spoke to before our system was ready, they said, oh, I wanted to do a virtual summit, and I didn't realize it was so much work, and had to put my business on hold for 3 months whilst I tried to do this summit. With our system, you can literally do a summit in something like 10 hours, 10 hours of investment of admin time, and it's all done for you, because we automate so much of that process. So what we do is we work with you on the strategy and the wording and the theme of the summit, and all of the communication with the speakers and things like that, to help you out and make it a success for you.
Exactly. And I think that also something else we offer, which is important, and again, it comes from that gentler place, is that we meet people who maybe are great at speaking about what, a particular topic or what they do, but they don't have the foundational stuff in place. So, for example, if they are asked to be on a podcast, or they're asked to be somewhere that, and somebody says, what's your lead magnet? What's your gift? They go, oh, I don't know. So we very much help with that kind of thing, and really, drilling down with people on their messaging and helping them, because, a lot of people are very vague about what they do. And we've all met the coach that says, I help people transform their lives, or I help people be the best version of themselves, which, it has to go somewhere. There has to be something with that. And often, when people are speaking, they don't have an end in mind, because obviously, as Steve has mentioned, a virtual summit is a great way to, not only build your list, but have continued conversations with people. But if there's nothing at the end for people to continue the conversation with you, then they won't. You'll just end up being a jolly nice talk. I went to this summit, I heard this person speak, it was great. You've got to give people a way to be able to continue the conversation with you. So, and we also work on specificity as well. That's my favorite word. I always get teased by somebody on that one, specificity. How specific you need to be. And Steve and I laugh, and I'm going to write the book. There is a book here, but I'm going to write the book about some of the stories of networking over the years. And Steve calls it the drain story. There was a lady that I met at a networking meeting a couple of years ago, and she was talking about drains. And as a networker, I'm the sort of person that I'm always writing notes. I've always got a pencil in my hand, and people will, wherever they come from in the world, if people don't understand, they'll often just nod. And then, if you were to say to them, what did they just say? I don't know, but I just nodded. I'm being polite. And nobody wants to think that they're giving their heart and soul into something and people don't understand what they do. But, here's a case in point. This lady was talking about drains, decorative drains. She was so inspired to help people. She was a heart-centered person. And people go, oh, yes, okay. And I say, drains, what kind of drains do you mean? Drains, in the sink? It was drain covers she was talking about, drain covers outside, on the pavement. No, she was actually a heart-centered lady that was working with people that had drains in their body. So perhaps people that had surgery or chemotherapy or whatever, and people that wanted to, go out and everything, and were challenged by things, being uncomfortable or unsightly. So she had created something lovely so that people could, turn up just as I am and, have drain covers in place, something complete mismatch, so we're all thinking about, the under the sink and plumbing stuff. And then, of course, once you saw everybody had understood, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I know somebody. I know somebody that works in this care. I know somebody that is. So, we very much help people with the specificity and in a gentle, loving way, ask people to outline what they do. And if we don't understand, say, we don't understand, or no, you're onto something. And sometimes it's just a little bit of course correction, but often, people will take money and go, well, I've got your money, and run with it. But we are very much wanting to handhold and say, how do we enhance that to make it better, so that people, when they hear you speak, say, where are you speaking next? What does it look like to work with you? That kind of thing. So nurturing with underscored.
Yeah, and you know what? It transpires because I had the opportunity to, of course, to listen to people, working with yourselves. And you know what came up? It was like really, it's like a family spirit. I mean, it's not, it's the way you look after your clients. It's really, it's not like just any company. It's you do it because you care and you go the extra mile. And if there's any difficulty, you are going to be there. And this stands out, you see, and this is really what makes you unique.
Oh, thank you.
So, and
that's lovely to hear.
yeah, no. It's, this is, the feedback. And so for everybody listening in the audience, coaches who would like to work with yourselves or entrepreneurs. And a, a little question for you, Steve, because obviously, I mean, you said you are a geek, I mean, in terms of a tech geek, and you've done so many things. You worked for these huge organizations there. What has been the big changes linked with AI in the last, say, 6 months? Just let us know. And how does it impact, and how do you integrate it in your business?
So AI, I mean, for close to 2 years now, we have been using AI, and it's made a huge impact. I'm a fantastic procrastinator. I could probably win a gold prize in the World Olympics of procrastination sometimes, in terms of when I have to sit down and write. So when I sit down and write, I'm good at it. Okay, I have created ads back in the 2000s, 2004 to 2007. We ran a local magazine where we published a lot of ads, and we did writing in that and much more. And when I do the writing, everybody loves it. The advertiser loves it, and they get business from it. And I've written sales letters and everything. But to get to the point of sitting down and writing could take me hours, days, weeks kind of thing. And so one of the big things for me when it comes to AI is that I don't procrastinate anymore. I sit down, I ask the AI to start writing it. Now, a year ago or 2 years ago, I invariably had to edit it a lot. You know, it wasn't my words, it was coming up with strange things, it was hallucinating. And what I really see now the last 3 months is that things like the Google AI Studio, for instance, is fantastic at sticking to what you're asking it to do. It doesn't hallucinate as much. The writing style, we have ways of inputting the information. We give it what's called a write print, which is actually a forensic device to figure out, did somebody commit a crime and did they write this letter kind of thing to prove for the courts. When you create a write print for the way you speak, for the way you communicate, for the way you write emails, and you give it to the system, the response you get is fantastic. So now it's minimal editing. So, you know, tasks that could take me days and weeks to get started sometimes is immediate. And when it produces it, rather than hours of editing afterwards, it takes minutes. And it's a huge transformation in the business. At the same time, we see the negative side of it. You know, Jenny is a voiceover artist, and she used to be fully booked. Like every week, she would have new projects coming in to do voices for apps and for e-learning and different things. And now that work is pretty much gone because AI has taken over. She has a couple of corporate clients that still use Jenny for a number of different things, but they're not like weekly work. It comes in now and then, and so that it's like there's a negative side to it. So obviously copywriters are suffering at the moment, but what it does, it empowers us as coaches, as business people, you know, to really be productive when it's done the right way. And we also offer AI services to our clients. We have an AI system that you get as part of a membership, or if you're a customer, for instance, you can use the AI system. And we see how often that system is used, and we're getting support questions. And you know, there was one person who's asked me a question that asked me to go in and look at what they'd done. And when I looked, they literally had hundreds of entries into the AI system, using it to write sales letters, to write emails, to write social media posts, and all of this. When you do it the right way, it is a fantastic transformation for what you can do without having to have a big team and having to pay out a lot of money. It's so affordable right now to do the AI side of things. And the way I look at it is it's just going to get better. It's just going to write better for you. It's going to be a real, it's not even persuasive yet, you know, or pervasive, sorry. It's not even that many people are actually using it. More and more people are, but there's still a ton of people. You know, I'm part of a group that has, I'm actually the host or co-host of a group that every month does AI. We have a speaker that comes in and talks about AI. And there are a number of people in the group who come in for the first time into the group and go like, I haven't used AI yet. What do I do? How do I get started? So we're still at the very forefront of using AI. So many people are not using it yet. And I'm saying like everybody needs to use it, because if you don't, you are going to be left behind. It's as simple as that.
Wow. So powerful. What about you, Jenny?
Well, you know, we often say to people, it's not a sausage machine. You know, people see it as this big bad thing. I'm not going to use it. If you don't use it, it's not going to go away. AI isn't going to go, oh, okay, people are not using me, I'm going to go away. It's how you embrace it. So we often find people that have great ideas. They just, you know, I know I've got loads of good stuff and I think I could do a 6-week course or I could write or something, and I don't know how to do it. And AI is really good for being able to help people be cohesive and to streamline things. And I call my AI, I'm revealing myself now, but I did it yesterday at a networking meeting. I call my AI little Jen. So I've got ideas for things, and sometimes I think I read back what I've written and I think it's clunky. So AI can just often help you just refine something along the way, and so help people. The more you use it, the more it understands your voice. And I definitely have a very distinct way of speaking and writing. And by using it, it's been able to pick that up And as Steve says, often you think, oh, I've got that thing to do and I've got the idea. So often I just throw my ideas in and put things in, and it helps me get something out the door more swiftly. In fact, I was at a meeting yesterday, and the topic was brainstorming. What do people think about brainstorming? And I had my my keyboard next to me, and people were talking about the difference between masterminding and brainstorming, and people couldn't figure out the difference. And I just kind of put in, and what's the difference? And it actually gave me a very cohesive, what is brainstorming and what is masterminding. And I had my way. And the nice thing was it actually was saying what I would say, but it just said it in a more cohesive way than brainstorming, for example, is you throw ideas around for a short amount of time. Masterminding is, more extensive, more commitment. You're working for the greater good. But it was such a useful tool. And then I just put it into a Word document. I put it in the chat and people could use it. So that was really useful.
It's wonderful. And I have to say, Jenny, I'm not a tech person, but I started as well using it, even for my, coaching business and and I work with ChatGPT for the moment, but it starts knowing me as well. So actually, because of the memory, you can pull out things. I mean, it's unbelievable the power it has. And as you say, sometimes I'm looking for something about an area I don't know, and then I'm just typing, and then I got so many information. I mean, it's amazing. So, and Steve, I can relate to the changes. I heard not long ago that apparently every 3 months, the power of the AI is like 3 or 4 times what it was 3 months before. So after 1 year, it's like 16 times. And if you take I don't know, by 2030, it's going to be exponential, something like 1,000 times. I don't know. I wrote, it's like you think, wow, these are, and I believe as well that if we don't embrace it,
Mm.
we'll be completely left behind because it does so many things and see, for me, the beauty of it is that when we use it properly, we can concentrate on what we are really good at, on our specificities, on what the service we can provide, and let AI help us for the rest.
Exactly. We had a client actually that wanted to create, she's just actually run a summit fairly recently, and she wanted to create a course as well. And she used the AI to create the course. And at the end of it, it actually gave a prompt, and it said, from what we've, something like from the information, would you like me to create a final prayer? And she typed in yes. And she said what came up was so beautiful. It actually moved her to tears. As somebody who was kind of like, oh, AI technology, whatever, she said it was like a final way that it really, she said, I couldn't have said it better myself. Those words, those feelings were in my head, but what it did was articulate something that was and it was just like a finality to the end of creating, this particular course or project that she was doing. And she just said it moved me to tears, which I thought was lovely.
And again, I can relate to that, Jen, because you see, I said a few years ago, I started a kind of, spiritual awakening, and I can, when I'm using AI, and obviously I'm defining myself as a heart-centered, mental fitness coach, and putting things, and what comes out there, it's so beautiful. As I have the same thing as you said. Sometimes I've got goosebumps when it prompts, "Oh, would you like this?" I say, "Oh yeah, okay." And then I read it. I thought, "Wow." You see, so this is beautiful. And just coming back to what you said, Steve, you said before you used to be like a big procrastinator, right? And now you change. And this word resonates with me because I myself was a big one as well. I was a big, I would say, a perfectionist, overthinker, very rational. But I've really changed. I've transformed over the last few years. I mean, it's about letting go. It's about following your instinct. It's about really taking action. And what I'm doing now is I specialize as a mental fitness coach. So I don't know if you've heard about positive intelligence. It's a program which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, basically, and I'm using it now in my workshops, is we help people uncover what their saboteurs are. The saboteurs, these are the mental, blockages in your head. For instance, some people can be a people pleaser. Oh, you always please people, but you please others, but you forget yourself. Or some people are more in the victim mentality. Oh, It's never it's their fault. It's the company's fault. It's this, instead of taking ownership. Or some people are controllers. Oh, I want to control everything. And some people are hyperachievers. They say, oh, they will never be happy before they reach the next goal. So basically what I'm doing is I'm helping people identifying what their saboteurs are and actually shifting it to their real power, to their authenticity. It's called the sages. It's about empathy, it's about exploring, it's about navigating, it's about being curious. So you see, procrastination is a big thing, but what people don't always realize is that procrastination, it's not about laziness, it's not about time management. This is really when you are not aligned with who you really are, with your values, with your goals. And when you so it's not, it's a message which tells you, oh wow, I've got to look inside because I've got to reconnect with whom I am. Just wanted, to say this little parenthesis. I don't know if, does this resonate with you?
Yeah, I think you are right. I mean, there's different types of procrastinations. It's not always the values, but I do agree if it's not in line with your values, you absolutely will procrastinate because you don't want to do it. It's like internal block. For me, the procrastination with the writing was that I just don't enjoy the process. I'm good at it. I just don't enjoy the process. I would rather do other things than sitting down and writing copy. I'm not a copywriter at heart. I met people who go like, oh, can I write this for you? I really enjoy the process. I don't. I just happen to be good at it because I know the principles I need to employ when I'm doing it. But knowing the principles and wanting to do it, that's a kind of thing. It's just like, yeah, I don't want to. They pay me to do it, though, so you've got to do it.
Exactly. Thank you. And what about you, Jenny? How does it resonate?
Well, I love the fact that you mentioned saboteurs because, often, we think of a saboteur being a bad thing. And of course, people pleasing is a double-edged sword. You're absolutely right. And I'm trying to be a recovering people pleaser because I'm very much the kind of, before we start speaker connections, Steve will tell you, the thing is, my worry is, are people going to show up? I get, and do people have a nice time? That's my final thing, when we switch off the camera, I was going, hope everybody had a nice time, because we often forget, there are things that we could say at speaker connections about, something that we're doing, and we forget because for me, it's always, people having a nice time. Is that going well? But yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying, that sometimes we don't even realize what it is that stands in our way, and we just need somebody obviously like you to just have a conversation and figure out what it is. And it's often just a small change that we make that can have such a significant impact. And we often find that when we work with people, that it's the listening that often when people are talking, we'll sort of sit back, as it were, and let people talk. And you can almost see people course correct as they go. They're saying something but then I'm doing that, aren't I? It's kind of like, what do you think? So I think they're the most valuable times, that when people, instead of, and something for me, yes, here we go, being vulnerable here. For me, our daughter will attest. Steve, I learned from Steve very much the art of sitting back and listening, because, when our daughter, for example, she's had some health challenges, and she's definitely the one that has wanted our ear in terms of help and support. And I was very much you could do this, we could do that. How about this? How about that? And I would hear Steve have a conversation with her. Oh, they'd be talking, and I'd hear him go, right. And I would say to him, oh, but she needs some help with something. But years later, she was able to articulate. She said, Mum, being a teenager as I was, you were coming up with great ideas, but I was definitely pushing back, those teenage years. But I just wanted to word vomit. And Papa, because that's how we say dad in Norwegian, Papa just listened. And I could course correct, and I could figure things out for myself. And I couldn't articulate the fact that I just wanted a platform. So I think, kudos to Steve for that being innate in him. I've had to very much kind of bite down and listen. But that is when the magic happens. And again, even in this medium here, you can see people online, you can see people talking, you can see them go, an eyebrow will change or something, or they'll stop and ponder, and it's like, that's incredible.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, because again, you will see that it resonates so much with me. I used to be in sales and, I was talking a lot, perhaps sometimes not always listening enough, but I learned, of course and now, for me as a coach, the, let's say my superpower, if I may say that, is really to offer this sacred space where people can express themselves without fears of being judged, of being criticized, or of being given unsolicited advice. So it's about them. It's about listening. It's about being with them. It's about sometimes asking questions, but really being very aware of that. And as you said, it needed learning as well, like, biting one's tongue, because sometimes we think, yeah, I know what to do, but no, we can't do that. As coaches, we've got to it's got to come from the person. We ask questions, how would you do that? What are the options? And all of a sudden it comes and, oh, wow, right. You see? So, and this is so important, because I believe that we live in a society which is very connected. Of course, social media, but at the same time, people haven't felt as alone, as lonely
Yeah.
as now.
I have a very good story about listening and the power of listening. So this was around 2002, I think, in London, and I went for an interview with a company. It was a consultancy company, and I was interviewed by the managing director of that local office. It was actually a worldwide organization, and I went in for an hour-long interview. And during the whole interview, all I did was saying, okay, and what about that? Oh, tell me more. And he ended up telling me about his favorite hobby, scuba diving, which also that's my hobby. I do scuba diving. And he was telling me about all of these fantastic places that he went to. And when asked question, it was like, well, and did you see this? And what happened then, kind of thing. And what happened was that he had all of these fantastic feelings around what he was doing. And he had those feelings while he was talking to me. So when he ended the interview after about an hour, it was like, oh, I run now. I need to go to a meeting. This was one of the best interviews I've ever had. You are hired. And I went like, you didn't ask me one single question. Not one.
Such a fantastic story, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing. And you see the power of active listening and being with others. When you remember, it's not about us, but it's about others as well. It's about helping people, making feel good, but obviously from your heart, without expectations. But when people have the opportunity to express themselves, wow, you see, all of a sudden, this is how the connection really, start the trust as well, because it's not about wanting something, it's about just being, just, yeah, being fully with the person.
For sure. And it's interesting, going back to after hours when we've had people come along and they're telling us aspects of their life or things. And, Steve and I have often said, when you go out and, you're a speaker, is that something you share? Oh, no, I don't think anybody would be interested. We've had before. And it's kind of like, yeah, they would. That was super, super interesting. And I think that's, when we talk about people getting started as speakers or, being guests somewhere, people say, well, people don't want to hear what I have to say, or I want to emulate, I don't know, Tony Robbins or whoever people hold on high on a pedestal. And we say to people, just be yourself, be perfectly imperfect. When we run summits and we facilitate, which is wonderful. Obviously we're doing the connection between the speakers and all that kind of thing. But often we get speakers and we see people, they're sitting listening. And then we ourselves are very much, we listen to the stories and often people will say something that perhaps attendees don't expect, because they hold them perhaps in high esteem. They're great at what they do, but then they'll talk about their humble beginnings or something that happened in their life. And we see people, they're sitting back listening right through to, you can almost see their nose hitting the screen. And are the stories perfect? No, they're not, but they are, it's a journey that attendees are taking with speakers. And we think that's somebody that we would love to ask back again, because attendees are just so into what's happening. And it's people being authentic. It's not saying, I took sales from this to this. I was 24 and I had 3 children under the age of 3 and I was widowed. And then I lost our home and we lost everything. And it's kind of like, didn't expect to hear that from somebody who's a super duper speaker that goes all over the place. And I think, when we hear these things that people are not perfect, that we've all had our challenges. We just think that all the, whatever you might want to call it, your ducks in a row or whatever, that's, we've had people that we've seen speaking who give their 45-minute talk, and that they can do it and by rote, etc. But often when people do something again and again and again, it loses the magic. It's not that the content isn't valuable, because it is, but there is a disconnect, because they know it so well that often when people leave a space or a hesitation, it makes us love them more. And I wish people understood that more, that when you are being authentic and yourself, we champion you, and we lean in and we listen. That's super important.
Absolutely. And it's, it's not, as you said, Jenny, not about the content. It's really the emotion. It's how people connect. And, we all have an electromagnetic field around us. And actually, when we met people, I mean, on screen as well, but physically, people say our energies meet before we do, particularly when we vibrate at a similar, frequency. So now this is beautiful. And I have a question for you. I've heard about a cruise coming up, and I would like to hear a little more about that.
Oh, Steve, do you want to kick off with that one?
So.
Yeah, I mean, we are very excited to be co-hosts for a European cruise in October of 2026, from the 9th to the 17th, I think it is, of October. And this is a Mediterranean cruise. So we're going to be departing from Barcelona, visiting a port in France, then 2 ports in Italy, and then down to Malta before heading back to Barcelona. But a cruise is one thing. It's what we're going to be doing on the cruise. It's called Sail to Speak and Scale. And one of the things, as you will walk away with, if you are a speaker or you want to get into speaking, or you just want to profile yourself for podcasts and for participating in virtual summits and things like that, is you're going to get a 15-minute professionally recorded video of yourself speaking in front of an audience on the cruise ship. You'll be able to call yourself an international speaker, with this, and you're going to be able to use that for your show reel, for profiling yourself. You'll be able to put it on YouTube. You'll own all of the rights to that video. We'll also be doing sessions on how do you get more speaking engagements? How do you scale your business? How do you get more clients from what you're doing, from speaking engagements, from everything you're doing? And we're doing this with a partner, Danella Burnett, who is really working with speakers and get them onto stages. And also Robert Evans from Actionera, who is also helping people get their information out. He does mobile apps, and he does a lot to push information out for people so they have their own platform to speak from. And then we coming in, of course, with our summit experience, and we have a speaker directory with over 3,000 people where you get to be profiled as well. So altogether, I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event. It's going to be so valuable for you to be on this event as well.
Yeah, we have a limited number of people that can go, and I think that we've been on a couple of marketing cruises before, that we very much live in the virtual world, and it's a privilege to think that you can talk to people all over the world, but there's a lot to be said for meeting in person too. So aside from the formal aspect of what's happening, I think just sitting down with a cup of coffee with somebody and going over some things, I think that's the important stuff, is when you can just be with people, often the magic happens, and people that we've met in person are going to be on this cruise, and they're people that are now in our community, having met them, and you think it's just so lovely, not having met them before, that you get a flavor of what they do, and we're so looking forward to it and putting our own spin on it. We've got lots of ideas that we're still working out, but not only are we going to 4 beautiful places, but also just from our own experience, the things that we've learned when we've been on previous marketers cruises that we want to implement to help people make those great connections and leave the ship feeling, with literally a goodie bag full of great ideas that they can implement as they go back to their businesses.
I mean, this would be such a wonderful place, and I will do my best to be there as well, right? So I just, perhaps, before we finished, I'd like you to make us dream a little bit, because both of you now are going to become digital nomads for some time. Can you tell us a little about this? What's the plan? How long? Or some of the places you are going to be? Just so that we can start thinking about this beautiful journey.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We're starting at the end of August. We are first going to Dubai for a couple of days. Our son lives there with his partner. And then we're heading to Thailand. We'll be in Thailand around 60, 70 days, probably, popping over to Sri Lanka and then most likely the Philippines. This is a little bit fluid because we may change our minds. There are different places we're looking at and options. Go back to Denmark, where our daughter is, and hop over to Portugal for a little bit. After that, we are heading towards South America and also parts of North America. We are looking to go to Mexico for maybe 2 to 4 weeks, go down to places like Argentina, Uruguay. I would love to go to Peru. We're probably heading over to Costa Rica at some stage as well. We have, so our daughter stayed in Melbourne back in 1999, 2000. We were going to go digital nomading. And one of the things we were going to do was go over to Australia and then go to New Zealand and go and visit the Lord of the Rings set and take her with us. It was part of a present. Wow. So we never got to do that. So we're looking at if we can make that happen now in 2026 as well, that we take her with us to go to New Zealand. Of course, we've got a cruise coming up in the Mediterranean, and we have lots of Europe we want to see, Albania, Armenia, Georgia, Bosnia, lots of places there we want to visit. So it's a big mix of different places we want to go. The key thing is that it is work all the way through as well. We're not going to let the business go and anything like that. So the plan is we work in 5 days a week. And then at the weekend, or maybe during the week, we take 1 or 2 days to do an experience of some kind. So in Bangkok, there's an hour and a half outside of Bangkok, there's a floating market. So we're planning to go to the floating market one day. In Chiang Mai, we want to go to an ethical elephant sanctuary. So we're doing things like that all the time. But most of the time, we'll be sitting in either the hotel room or the balcony or a cafe or a co-working space and still do the business.
Yeah, we wanted to show, people get to the age that we are, and I'm the older of the two of us. I have to say that every day for any of us is a privilege. When people think about, oh, I'll do this when I've done that, or I'll do this, whatever, we have the opportunity to do it now. And again, it comes back to being perfectly imperfect. There's bound to be things along the way we think, oh, could have done that different, should have done that different, or whatever. But it's an adventure, and we're simple souls that there doesn't have to be razzmatazz, for us, having been to Thailand a couple of years ago, one of the nicest things was just wandering down a street market and grabbing food and having the privilege of, walking around a temple and just taking a beat, just taking time. So it's not extravagant. It's just, Steve and I are very much tourists go one way and then we go the other way because we just want to see the real place. And so for us, the idea that we can get a snapshot of different places, and then we thought, well, why don't we just document it? You often see people that document their travels, and we thought, well, how about we document it as people of a certain age and running a business too. So it's going to be a bit vulnerable at times. And I said to Steve the other day, maybe we should create a blooper reel. There's bound to be bloopers, but we just thought be real, be raw, and hopefully somebody might like it and feel inspired to do it themselves. So and because our work is virtual and online, as Steve says, we just, when we went to Thailand before, we just found a lovely little courtyard that we just sat in. We were the people that people saw every day, just sitting there beavering away and working and, taking meetings in private places when we needed to. And so it's doable. So we thought, well, we'll just do it for a bit longer.
Yeah, the channel that we're creating on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram is called Digital Dream Years.
That's
Wow.
right. Yeah. And I think that might be the thumbnail picture, and it's quite interesting actually. Our daughter took the picture of the two of us together, but it's quite interesting, Steve, a little thing that when you see the picture, it's the two of us sort of together, but we were actually sitting on a kind of leathery sofa, so it was actually Steve was sliding off the sofa as we took it. So whilst it looks a very cozy romantic picture, there was me holding Steve on for dear life as he started to slither off the sofa. But it's all good fun. That's all the kind of thing you'll end up finding us do. But and we hope to meet lovely people along the way, and also show people, some of the people in the different countries and places that we're visiting, which would be nice too. So to champion the places that we're going as well.
Well, this is fantastic. I have to say it's so inspirational, and I think I'm going to do something similar.
Well, come and join us. Come and join us for
Well,
a leg
you
or
know
two.
what? Why not? We never know. But look, I think thank you so much, for being, for inspiring our audience so much. Is there anything you would like to add as like tips for the audience, for people who want to be on podcasts, to host them?
Well, I would say this is for me, for Jenny, I think as well, is authenticity is key. Be yourself. People love others who are themselves and not something that you are pretending to be. So to give an example, what I mean by that, when we mess up, when we do something wrong, we're hosting a summit, I say the wrong thing, or introduce the wrong person, or I spotlight the wrong person, or something like that, and I'm going like, oops, that was a mistake. Right, I obviously haven't got the handle of this yet. I'm okay, let me fix this. And I fix it. And people typically love that you take ownership of your mistakes. And it makes you human. It makes you real. Rather than somebody is on a pedestal. That I think is one of the key things, is that be real for your audience and they will love you for it.
Absolutely. And also we would say, there are people that say, just get out there and speak. And if somebody asks you to speak, say yes. We would always advocate, take an opportunity to speak to the people, for example, be on a podcast where that there is going to be that great ebb and flow between you and the podcast host. And the people that are going to be listening are the people that want to hear what you have to say. So you could go on 10 podcasts a week, but cherry pick and make sure that you speak somewhere where you feel that there is, that it's a good fit for you. Often people will say, I'm running an event and I want speakers with big lists or whatever. When there is that incongruency between the theme of, for example, a virtual event, somebody speaks about a topic that isn't related, it's discombobulating and it really throws the balance of something off. So, make sure that even if you want to speak on a summit and you want to get out there and get going, make sure that you apply for something that is a really good fit for you, because that will ensure you're in front of the right audience, and that will ensure that people go, that was really great, and would you come back on another occasion? Or somebody who's an attendee says, oh, I loved what you had to say, I've got a podcast, would you come and speak on that? And that's the momentum that you're looking for.
Wow. Thank you so much. For these tips. Of course, I can so much relate to that authenticity and, be yourself. And yes, as you say, Steve, we all make mistakes and it's fine. And we correct them. And you, you- I love what you said, Jenny, before. You said, we are, uh, and you say we are perfectly imperfect,
Perfectly
and
imperfect.
this is exactly, and when we embrace our imperfections, we embrace who we are, we embrace others as well. And it's about, we are human beings. So look, it was so lovely to have you as host. It was really a pleasure and an honor to have you there. So, and when people want to connect with you, Steve, what's the best? I mean, obviously we'll have all the contact details, but
Yeah, the best way to connect with me probably is through LinkedIn, through messaging on LinkedIn, or just email steve@eventraptor.com and jenny@eventraptor.com. You'll easily reach us.
well, and so again, thank you so much. All the details will be there, of course. And I wish, I hope, everybody in the audience had a very enjoyable time today and be inspired. And obviously, working with Jen and Steve, it's a pleasure. It's beautiful. So thank you so much for listening, and I wish you all a beautiful day until the next episode. Bye.